let me learn. Page Kuf Tzadik Daled.
The Maimer?
What's that? Nachamo. Maimer. Shabbos Parshas Moshe. Shabbos Parshas Vayeshev. L'Erev Chanukah Tovshin Lamites. Chanukah Maimer. We're holding on page Kuf Tzadik Daled. In the end of the first paragraph, we're going to start from the line starts with Haruchni by the dot over there Rizal. Yesterday we saw the beer that says in Chassidus as to the difference between Hanukkah and Purim, and really Hanukkah and other Yom Tov. The Kudus of beer was that the ha'tshel, salvation that Yidden had in Hanukkah, was b'chrolos ruchnistic salvation. It was the neshamadik salvation, as opposed to the other Yom Tovim was a physical salvation. The gufim of Yidden of Klal Yisrael were saved. What's unique about Hanukkah that it was a ruchnistic salvation? Is the beer that essentially the Muhammad the Yevanim had connected to Klal Yisrael wasn't against Yidden. It wasn't anti-Semitic war per se, but it was an ideological war against the ideology of Yidden. What was their ideology? It says the Maimer Gimal Gazach. When a Yid learns Torah, why does he learn Torah? Because he recognizes that it's Torah Sacho, it's Torah Hashem. When a Yid does a mitzvah, why does he do a mitzvah? Not because it makes sense, not because it fits with his morals. A Yid does a mitzvah because he recognizes that there's an Eibishter, and the Eibishter is his Eibishter, and this Eibishter wants him to do this. And it could be that there is no reason why the Eibishter wants him to do it, just because Kach Ratzon, that's how he wants. And we are subjugated to his will, and therefore we do what he wants. That's the diuk chukim tenacha. It's chukim. It's laws that are beyond comprehension. And not just that, but like we said yesterday, it's tenacha. It's not just that it's beyond our comprehension, but the Eibishter has a reason for it. Even that we said the Yevanim would agree. As long as you're doing it with rationale. If it's not your rationale, you understand that he has a greater rationale. Something that's beyond your comprehension. No, I'm doing it just because of the tzeinach. It comes out that the whole war was a ruchnistic milchama. Rabbi goes weiter, and he says this is merumos in the nusach that we say in the Alan Nisim. Again on page Kingston, the line starts with Haruchni. V'zehu v'rabbi miyad miyatim. It says that the Eibishter delivered the many in the hands of the few. So simply speaking, the many was the Yevanim, and the hands of the few was in the hands of the Yidden. Hashmenoim, they were few. Shapiru shapnimi. The Rabbi says, Pnimi is the Gataych. Chassidus Gataych, these words, but Rabbi Ma'atim. The Inyan Hariboy Umiyat Shabbatayim, it says Gufa. The Rabbi Ma'atim are describing not just the fighters, but are describing the war that was being waged. The war was a war of Rabbim against Me'atim. What does that mean? So the Rabbi says, the Yevanim, like we said before, essentially they didn't negate the general idea, concept of Torah mitzvahs. The Rebbe goes on in the brackets. I'll read it inside. He says that, again, this is all the remez in the words of Rabbi Miatim. The Rebbe says that being that we're speaking about a war that was together with the Rabbi Miatim, so the concept of war is, we see in a war is that there's a coming together of two sides. Of course, they're coming together to fight, but in the same hand, they're coming together. They're holding hands. The Rebbe says that what this symbolizes, Beruchnius, is that there is some agreement of the minds. Just like physically, there's the coming together of the bodies when there's a war, so too, Beruchnius, there's a coming together of the minds, but they're still fighting. Let's see how the Rebbe brings it out. The Rebbe says in the brackets, the Rabbim together with the Matim, the Yivanim together with the Yidden, the Chashmonoim, they fought together. What's the true meaning of Melchama? When the two fighters are being strangled, tangled one with another. While they're entangled one with another, of course each one wants to overthrow the other, but at that moment they are close, they're near, very near. That's why the word for one of the words for war in Tanakh is krav. Krav means a war, but krav also comes from the lashon of kiruv, of coming near, because if you want to fight, one of the ways of fighting is coming very near. And from this, that they came together, the Rabbim with the Me'atim, to fight in such a manner, moving, it's understood. Very, very interesting remez that Rebbe says. If they are coming together to fight, what that symbolizes is Meramez, hints to the Indian that there was a meeting of the minds. The point that the Rebbe is trying to bring out is that the Yivanim were okay with Yidden doing Torah mitzvahs. So what was their war? Which is a very interesting word. They wanted that the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvahs should be in a way of riboy, of rabbin. What does that mean? They wanted that the Torah mitzvah should be in a way of rabbin. The rabbin is the in hakamos, quantity. Hainu mitzad hachma v'aseichel shebehem. They were very happy. They were okay with Yidden learning Torah. It's had the kamas of Torah. The kamas of Torah is the chitonius of Torah, the seichel of Torah. But they weren't okay with Yidden learning it. It's not the quality of Torah. What does the eichos represent? It's had in hilikus sheba Torah mitzvahs, the godliness which is behind Torah mitzvahs. Which that's the pnimius of Torah mitzvahs. The external part of Torah, chokhmah and seichel, which is symbolized in the of kambus, that they were fine with. But the eichus, the says what's behind the kambus, what's behind the Torah, that it's Torah Hashem, you're learning it just because, not because of the kambus, not because of the seichel, just beside the eichus, that they had a problem with. So that's the diuk of Rabbim. But their fight was that they wanted Rabbim. They were okay with the Rabbim. With Kamas, they're fine. But Yidden wanted Ma'atim. Yidden wanted to focus on the Ma'ats, on the Eichos, not on the Kamas. And that was the Nitzachin that the Rabbim was delivered in the hands of the Ma'atim. Very interesting Ramas. Very interesting Ramas. Akoponim, that's the Nekudah. That's the Nekudah. That the war was a ruchniistic war. It was a war against not Yiddishkeit in general, but it was against Yiddishkeit practicing it for a higher purpose. Practicing Yiddishkeit because recognizing that there's an Eibush there and I'm only doing it for his sake, not for mine. That's something that a Goy can't comprehend. Beyond comprehension. This decree aroused by Yidden the power of their Mesiras Nefesh. Although the decree was on the spirituality of Torah and mitzvahs, but not on the actual limit HaTorah and fulfilling mitzvahs. Their mechama wasn't on the practice. But we find that ultimately Maisa is the main thing. Right? You could have a person that has all the kavanas, but he doesn't do the Maisa b'poyol. He wasn't a kind of mitzvah. And you have a person that he has no kavanas, he just does the mitzvah, but he wasn't a kind of mitzvah. So Maisa wa'ikar. So if the Goyim let the Yidden fulfill Torah mitzvahs, what do they have to go out to war for? for? They let you do it. Okay, so they're against you doing it in a certain way. Okay, I could still do it. What were they going out and fighting against? They call Mokim Yodu. They knew Yodu. You saw that. Okay, so there's something else. Mokim Yodu Yisrael Shagzeira Zu Higzeira Ayuma V'Neira. They knew that it's a very dangerous gzeira. Kikol ikar in the Torah mitzvahs. Because this is a fundamental in Torah mitzvahs, recognizing that it's Torah Hashem and it's the mitzvahs, it's the desire of Hashem. Like Chazal tell us, an explanation of the word of Anochi, the Siv Matan Torah, which was stated Matan Torah. What Chazal tell us? Anochi Rashi Tevis. What's the Rashi Tevis of Anochi? Ano nafshi ksavs Yehovis. Right, and the way Chassidus teaches this Maimer Chazal. The Eibishter embedded himself, he wrote himself in his nefesh, so to speak, into Torah and mitzvahs. And when a Yid learns Torah, he's taking the Eibishter. It's the fundamentals of Torah and mitzvahs. Until we find Brad and Zoyar and Tanya, that Torah, which is the wisdom and the will of the Eibishter, and the Eibishter himself are all one. Says that this was the Yidden knew, recognized this is a fundamental of Torah and mitzvahs, and therefore they weren't ready to give it up. When the Yidden decreed to make the Yidden forget the Torah, to make them be over mitzvahs. What do they want? They want them to forget the godliness which is behind Torah and mitzvahs. The Yidden were aroused with the Mesiras Nefesh to fight against the Yivanim. Although they were weak and few against strong and many, based on the rules of nature, it wasn't possible for them to win. When there were 5 in Yonim, the Lashonis that we say in the Ala Nisim, which were revealed to Klal Yisrael then, which brought about this miracle. It seems like everyone wants to say that it wasn't an easy victory. It wasn't just an S. It had to be Nisim, Purkon, Vuris, Shuyis, and place. There needs to be a lot of Kaychis Malmaila to help the Yidden. That's what it seems like the Rebbe is saying. They stood with the Mesiras Nefesh, Adlo Mesiras Nefesh, not just the Mesiras Nefesh, but the Mesiras Nefesh that they stood at the time of Hanukkah, which was a tremendous madriga of Mesiras Nefesh. But used to on Mesiras Nefesh to put him. Very interesting. He brings to the middle of the Rebbe, the Shara Eira Bagdamba, where he writes that there's a Maidel of Mesiras Nefesh of Hanukkah where Mesiras Nefesh put him. Now it's time to get into the difference. Over there he explains there's 2 types of Mesiras Nefesh. One that comes from above, the Eibishter pulling you. One is coming from you, from the depths of your neshama. And he explains that's the difference between Mesiras Nefesh of Hanukkah and Purim. There's a Maidel of Mesiras Nefesh of Hanukkah over Purim. Like they said, Paul, and through standing with this Mesiras Nefesh, they were able to bring about Sheyia Amad Fal Misrasam. They should actually be victorious. And this that the Eibishter stood for them in their Eis Tzara was manifested in all details, like it says it after Srifam Tanta Stinium Nakanta Stigmasam. It went into the Pratim where they needed a Yeshua. Until ultimately this brought to praising the Eibishter to his great name, which in Chassidus didn't of Hallel means that there's a Gilui. When do we say Hallel when there's a Gilui? So when we speak about Hallel l'Shimcha Gadol, it means there's a Gilui of this Shimcha Gadol. Leirak l'Shimcha Stam l'Shimcha Gadol, the Gilui Zed v'china Shimcha Gadol shemayel mishtalshos nimshach b'Yisrael. It was this revelation of the Shimcha Gadol, which is a revelation higher than Yistalshalus, was manifested in their Eis Tzara. It's known as Parna Chassidus on the Pasuk. of Hashem will shine my darkness, will light up my darkness. Specifically in the time of darkness, like it was in the time of the decree of Yavan. In the time of Choshki, what's the gili that lights it up? It's the gili of Vahavaya. And like he says, it doesn't say Havaya Stam, it says Vahavaya with an extra Vav. And he says, Havaya, this is referring to Havaya La'ila, the Havaya which is higher than Seder Shtalshalos. Vav HaMoisif, and what's the Vav adding? Vahavaya, Hainashu Oid Moisif Lahamshkel Maila Maila. Right? The Vav is a line. So what does the Vav symbolize? The Vav symbolizes that it's taking from a very high place and bringing it down. So he says the Havaya, which is with the Vav, shows that it's taking from even higher than Havaya, and it brings it all the way down. What does this mean? How does this translate in Avodah? This idea of a gilui of something which is higher than Seder Shtalshlus and being nimshach down here. Avodah, what that means is the revelation and the awakening of the depths of one's neshama, and manifesting it until the lowest in yonim. The lowest koiches of a person's nefesh, which means, he translates, it is the depths of one's neshama, the most inner parts of one's neshama. It shines in all one's faculties of his soul. Right, so that's what the Vahavaya Giyah Choshki and Avodas Adam symbolizes, represents that a Yid's Oimek HaNeshama, Primus HaNeshama, comes out Begilui, and it carries through its mayor all his koiches. And similarly, in a more cosmic level, the idea of the neshama coming out begili to the tachtain means that even in the lowest yid, even his neshama is brought out begili. Even a kalsha bekalim is ready to raise her nefesh when he feels that something is touching his pintel yid. Va'oz meir begili atzmus. When he feels like it's touching his connection with Atzmus, so in him shines the Gili of Atzmus, and he's ready to be Meisha Nefesh. So, the Rebbe said the following: Yidden recognized in the time of the Gzeras Yavon that this was something crucial to Yiddishkeit. On one hand, we say a Ma'asav Ve'ikar, but on the other hand, this is crucial for Yiddishkeit. That when we do Torah and mitzvahs, it's Torah Sacha, it's Torah Hashem. There's the Eibusher behind Torah and mitzvahs. And mitzvahs is the Ratzon of the Eibusher. This is an integral part of Yiddishkeit. And therefore they're ready to be Meister Nefesh for it. And Rebbe explained that the Eibusher brought a Yeshua as a result of the Mesiras Nefesh. A tremendous Yeshua. And this Yeshua came from a very high Madrega, Havaya, higher than Seder Shtalshalos. And what is that supposed to bring out by a Yid? When we speak about a Gidui of Avaya, what does that mean by a Yid in his own Avayda? Where does it translate in the Yid's Avayda? That his Lamayla may say the Shtashlos, which is his Primus HaNeshama, comes out by Gidui, and it's manifested in all his Chaychas. Just like the Eibishter's Gidui Mahavaya came to the lowest in Yonah, and it came to Eilam Hazah. So too, his neshama is meir, and it permeates his whole being until his lowest keiches. And similarly, the neshama comes begilui even to the lowest yid. In other places it says that this was what brought about the Yeshua. When Yidden, in the times of Gzeras Yamon, their etzem neshama, their primus neshama came out begilui, and it came to the lowest madrigas of their being, of their keiches. So the Eibusher Kavayachol reciprocated. Like it says, the midah that a person behaves, that's the way the Eibusher reciprocates. So when Yidden brought out their Pnimis HaNeshama, their L'mayla Meishal Shalos, and they brought it out into the lowest madregas, so the Eibusher as well was mamshich from Va'avaya, from the Madrigas which are hiding in Siddish Tashlus, to bring the Yeshua in the times of Hanukkah. Okay.
Congratulations, we had 10 people.